We're not going to dive too deep in the e-bike 101 series about motor specifics. I'm a scientist by previous occupation, and I could get really down in the weeds on wattage. Motor wattage, all you really need to know is more wattage means more power. Wattage is the power output of the motor. The thing that you may not realize is the motor itself is dependent on the battery and the controller pushing electricity to it for its actual usable power. So that's why even a 250 watt motor is going to get almost all users up to 15 to 20 mile per hour speeds without any problem at all. This behemoth of a cargo bike behind me is like an 80-pound bike. It has a 500 watt motor. It gets this bike up to speed, no problems. You may have heard about, there's kind of a misnomer, we addressed it in our e-bike myths video, that you need the most power available. And that's just not the case. If you go and test ride a bike and it feels good to you and feels peppy, then it's going to be fine. The one thing you will get when you go up higher in wattage, that motor, just like an internal combustion vehicle, a bigger motor tends to be more gas hungry, less fuel efficient. It's the same way with e-bike motors. You get a larger motor, it's going to require more power, and then you also need a larger battery to achieve the same amount of range or distance you can ride. So there's trade-offs with motor size. With all of these recommendations, e-bike 101, when you're shopping for e-bikes, there is no substitute for trying bikes.
So this bike is a rear hub motor. So back here, the motor is laced into the rear wheel. This gives a feeling like you have a strong wind at your back. You feel that motor kick in and it's driving you forward. It's a pretty invigorating feeling of speed on these versus a mid-drive motor, which has a more natural kind of pedaling motion and even application of power. This is a Class 2 e-bike, so it's limited to 20 miles an hour, but also has a throttle in addition to its pedal assist, so you can drive the rear wheel independently of pedaling. Having a throttle can be handy when you're carrying a large load, or you want to get through an intersection quicker than you might otherwise normally be able to pedal. Having that little burst of speed helps with hills as well. The throttle is here next to its digital readout screen, so that is what moves the wheel forward.
This bike here is a mid-drive e-bike. Motor is right here between the pedals, so it's in that same spot you generate power yourself. It makes you feel like your legs have superpowers. And you also are able to utilize the gearing of this bike to create more mechanical advantage, which can really be helpful when climbing hills. So in a hilly city, where we are not, Sacramento is quite flat, but if you live in a really hilly city, having this ability to leverage gears with a mid-drive can really help climbing some of those steep hills.
This bike has a cadence sensor, so the computer is taking the calculation of how fast you're turning the cranks and applying pedal assist based on that, and it has 5 levels of speed assist. Change your level of assist for the pedal assist with these plus and minus buttons. It's a scale of 1 to 5 on this bike, though there's lots of variation out there on number of levels of assist.
This particular bike uses a torque sensor. So what it is doing, it's sensing actually the amount of force you're pressing on the pedals. So a torque sensor is great because it delivers power based on how hard you are working or pushing on the pedals, and you couple that with the display that then just interprets that signal to a given amount of force. So with a torque sensing bike, you can really tailor your output personally, but also the output you're getting for speed on the street. A torque sensor mid-drive e-bike like this tends to be a good option if you're trying to get a little more exercise. It's going to require a little more output from the rider.
This one is a mid-drive, so the motor is here in between the cranks, but instant delivery of power, very natural pedal feel to them. It's almost like you're riding a normal bike with super legs.
One of the considerations between mid-drive and hub motor bikes is their effect on the rest of the drivetrain. As Rob mentioned, having those superpower legs also means you're putting more strain through your chain, and all of the components in the drivetrain. So you tend to have more wear on those components, so you're going to have to replace some of those more. So there's always going to be a little bit of trade-off there from a mid-drive to a hub motor. Now you aren't going to get that with a hub motor, but you still have all those things that an e-bike does that increases wear. Namely higher speeds, more distances, so you're going to ride more. So you're going to wear through some tires, wear items like brakes, of course. You're traveling at higher speeds, so your brake wear is going to tend to be more.
No matter how well studied you are on stats and motor types and sensor types, really until you get a sense of how that affects the ride feel on different types of bikes, your opinion can change drastically. You can go into it thinking, I want mid-drive, torque sensors, that's the way to go. And then you ride a mid-drive and you try some hub drives, and you try a mid-drive that's got a torque sensor, and then you try a hub drive that has a cadence sensors. Yeah, still like the mid-drive. Find a hub drive that has a torque sensor. See how that affects the ride feel. And every manufacturer has slightly different geometry, so a frame that fits one person real well may not fit you as well. Finding that happy spot, your body will let you know, when you have your fit dialed in on those bikes, which is more comfortable for you. And sometimes just that impression of, your riding position, how upright you are versus how aerodynamic you might be on a given bike, is going to be different for everybody. So the more bikes you try, the more opportunities to experience different types of drivetrains, different setups, chain drive, belt drive, rear derailleur versus an internal geared hub or CVT style hub. It's all going to help you make the right decision for you when it comes to time to purchase.
Made possible by a grant from SACOG, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments.